One of the best weekends of the year, without a doubt. Happy Thanksgiving from us to you. I hope you're spending it with family. Week 12 is here. We're going to help you with some starts, sits. Some of these players are on the edge, hopefully going to help you make some difficult decisions at quarterback. I think you can start Russell Wilson. Okay, I know it's been really rough since he's returned from that injury, but it shouldn't surprise us that it's taking him a while to get back from an injury that literally is on his throwing hand. There was no way around this. It was going to take a while. This to me feels like a get right game versus Washington. By the way, Washington gives up the most points to the quarterback position. So if there is a get right game, it's Monday Night Football this week. I think you can start Russ if you're streaming or if you're looking to trade for a quarterback. And by the way, Washington's defense looks okay, but they still don't have Montez Sweat, Chase Young. The secondary is still struggling here and there. But offensively, Washington's been able to move the ball. They're getting Curtis Samuel back, Logan Thomas back. I think they'll be able to score, which means Seattle's going to have to score in return. It's a get-right game for Russ Wilson. Let Russ cook. Come on, baby. At the running back position, you can start Antonio Gibson. It's been an up and down year for sure. Definitely hasn't met the expectations that we had for him, but he's going up against a Seattle defense that currently gives up the second most points to the running back position. And in the two games since Washington's been back from the bye week, let's look at Antonio Gibson's yardage, okay? 173 total yards, 2 touchdowns, and 45 total touches. He has been balling out in these two games since the bye week, and I think that's going to continue versus Seattle. Like I said, Logan Thomas, Curtis Samuel should be back. This offense should be better, and there will be goal line opportunities in this game for Antonio Gibson, so I like him as a start this week. I also really like James Robinson this week. He's been super consistent for you, and I think this is going to be a better week than last week. He's going up against Atlanta, who gives up the 4th most points to running backs. Last week was weird, okay? San Francisco dominated time possession. They were up early and often. So when you look at J-Rob's stats from last week, it looks like he wasn't super involved, but that's not true. He was the only running back who had a rushing attempt. He was very involved. The Jags just didn't have many drives or many plays in general. Now they're going up against Atlanta, who's struggling offensively and defensively. It feels like a perfect game script for James Robinson to get 100 yards and a touchdown. At the wide receiver position, I can't believe I'm saying this, but you can start Brandon AiYOUK. The trust looks like it's fully back with Shanahan, and he's slowly being more and more integrated into this offense. Plays Minnesota, who right now gives up the 2nd most points to wide receivers in fantasy. His season started out rough, guys, like really rough. Underperformed everyone's expectations, but check this out. Since week 8, he is the wide receiver 13 in PPR formats. So he's definitely figured a couple things out, built that trust. This offense looks explosive now that they have Mitchell, Debo, and Kittle all healthy. Mitchell should be back. This is an offense that you can rely on, including Brandon AiYOUK. Minnesota is a good offense. They should be able to score and keep the ball more than the Jags did last week. So it's a favorable game script for fantasy. Start AiYOUK with relative confidence. And I cannot believe we are finally here. A name that we've been hyped on all offseason, Elijah Moore. The breakout is here, ladies and gentlemen. Do you remember how I just talked about Brandon AiYOUK and said from week 8 onwards, he was the wide receiver 13? Elijah Moore, in that same time period, is the wide receiver 1 in PPR formats. There's not been a more valuable wide receiver in PPR formats since week 8 than Elijah Moore. Finding a groove, they're seeing the talent, getting him a part of the game plan now as well. He goes up against Houston this week, who gives up the 10th most points to wide receivers. He was dealing with a ton of injuries earlier in the year, but it's finally clicked. The only worry is Zach Wilson. Can Zach Wilson do that? You hope that there is now a blueprint that he can see. Wow, the offense can be good. I just need to give the ball to Elijah Moore and do a couple things that the people before me have done. There's a game plan now, and I think Elijah Moore is scripted. You know, he's scripted into screens, into sweeps, jet sweeps, and I think that they're going to get him more and more involved, and Wilson should be looking his way. He's not going to finish as a wide receiver 1. He's not going to finish as a top 8 wide receiver this year, but I think he's reliable this week, and I don't see a reason why they stop force feeding him. At the tight end position, he's finally back, and he looks really good. Rob Gronkowski. you can count on Gronk moving forward. Indianapolis is his matchup this week. They give up the 4th most points to tight ends. They're a good offense, firing on all cylinders, the Colts are, so they should be able to score against a beat-up Tampa Bay defense, which means game script should be in Gronk's favor. He's always a threat in the red zone, always a target that Brady's looking to get a touchdown to. And check this out. If we're looking at an average per game basis, Gronk ranks as the tight end 3 in that category in PPR format. So Gronk is a good matchup. And I don't know if you watched the game versus the Giants last week on Monday Night Football, but he looked like the old Gronk. Go give it a watch and feel confident starting him this week. I'm now going to quickly give you 2 sits, players that I don't feel confident in starting. You might have to start them, but look for alternative options. Number 1 is literally any Titan not named AJ Brown. Okay, if there's a Titan not named AJ Brown, he should not be in your starting lineup. They play New England this week, who give up the fewest points per game to opposing offenses. I don't see that changing with an offense right now that's really struggling. Ryan Tannehill doesn't have his weapons, doesn't have Julio, doesn't have Derrick Henry. I think you can play AJ Brown purely because of the talent. I'm still skeptical about it. I would probably start him unless I have really, really good other options, but you don't start these guys. Ryan Tannehill, Deontay Foreman, Hilliard, Westbrook-Ikine, Chester Rogers. There's no one else outside of AJ Brown that I want to start on the Titans, and I'm even skeptical about him. I also think you need to sit any Giants wide receiver not named Kadarius Toney. They're facing the Eagles this week. The Eagles give up the 2nd fewest points to wide receivers in fantasy. They've been surprisingly good defensively. Darius Slay has been a big component to their defense. If you're thinking about starting Kenny Golladay, you shouldn't. I mean, he might not even need to be rostered in your leagues at this point. He's going to be shadowed by Slay. And last week in a plus matchup versus the Bucs, Kenny Golladay only had 1 catch. I don't see this being a better game for him. And I don't trust Daniel Jones, to be honest, to get anyone the ball successfully outside of Toney. And the reason I'm okay with Toney is because he's in the game plan. Screens, slants, sweeps. He's just a guy that they're force feeding targets to, even if it's not an efficient offense. So sit any Giant not named Kadarius Toney. Any Giant wide receiver, excuse me. Those are our starts and sits. Let us know down below if you have any questions. And happy Thanksgiving.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch
now,
it.
You can also subscribe.
Right now.
If you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/fantasylandfam.